Have you ever left a room and felt strangely tired, even though nothing bad happened? No one raised their voice. No one said anything unkind. Everyone smiled, shook hands, said the right things. And yet, something in you felt smaller than before you walked in. That feeling is rarely random. It's usually your mind and picking up on something your ears missed. Here's something worth sitting with. The people who wish you the least good are almost never the ones who tell you so. They don't slam doors nor start arguments. They stay close, stay pleasant, and quietly hope you stumble. An open rival is easy to deal with because you know where you stand. A hidden one is harder because they let you believe everything is fine. While they wait, today we're going to walk through the quiet signs that someone's warmth toward you isn't as simple as it looks. And the last one on this list is the hardest to spot, because most people call it loyalty, right up until it disappears. Before we get into it, if any part of this feels familiar, just type "I notice more than I say" in the comments, not for attention, just as a small note to yourself, because once you start watching behavior, instead of listening to words, people become very hard to hide from. Start with praise, and that feels strangely thin. Some congratulations are automatic, not felt. A person says, "Good for you," or "That's great," in a tone with no warmth behind it, the way you'd thank a stranger for holding a door. Watch the eyes. Real happiness for another person shows up there first. When it's missing, the mouth is doing all the work, alone. People who are genuinely glad for you tend to make your win bigger in the retelling. People who are not tend to shrink it, almost by instinct, mentioning someone else who did it faster, or reminding you it isn't that rare. It isn't really about you in that moment. It's about protecting themselves and from having to measure their own choices against yours. Notice, too, how some people always have a reason. Your success wasn't really yours. Good timing, a helpful connection, sheer luck, never discipline, never risk, never the years you put in when no one was watching. This isn't really an opinion about you. It's self-defense. If your work paid off because you worked, then the person standing still has to ask why they didn't. It's far more comfortable to call your climb an accident than to admit they never tried the mountain. Then there's the quiet observer, the person who somehow knows everything happening in your life without you ever telling them directly. Where you went, who you were with, what you posted, deleted, changed. At first, this can feel touching, like someone cares enough to pay attention. But real affection isn't usually that thorough. Genuine friends ask how you're doing. Hidden resentment studies how you're doing, quietly keeping score, waiting to see if you rise or fall. Attention is not the same thing as care. Sometimes it's simply surveillance, as wearing a friendly face. Watch what happens when your life gets hard. Support that only shows up during your good seasons was never really support. It was association. The moment things get difficult, some people go quiet. Messages slow down. Plans get cancelled. They're not celebrating your struggle out loud, but they aren't rushing toward you either. They're watching, but from a comfortable distance, telling themselves your hardship is somehow deserved, or at least convenient. The people worth keeping are the ones who show up when you have nothing to offer them in return. Be careful, too, of advice dressed up as concern. I just don't want you to get hurt. It can be genuine wisdom, or it can be a quiet leash. Sometimes people discourage your biggest moves, not because they doubt you'll succeed, but because your success would force them to face the risks. They were too afraid to take themselves. The tone sounds caring. The effect is smaller ambitions, safer choices, a quieter version of you. Judge advice by where it leads you, not by how gently it's delivered. Rumors rarely start with a direct accusation. They start with a soft question. I could be wrong, but has something seemed off with them lately? A sentence like that plants doubt, without any fingerprints on it, because the listener fills in the rest themselves. And people trust conclusions they think they reached on their own. This is one of the oldest tricks in human behavior. Let others build the story, and you never have to take responsibility for telling it. Confidence has a strange effect on insecure people. The moment you stop over-explaining yourself, stop chasing approval, start setting boundaries without apology, some relationships cool overnight. Suddenly, you've changed. You're different now. What actually changed is that you stopped asking for permission to exist as yourself. And that quiet independence that unsettles people who preferred you unsure, and pay close attention to how people respond, not to your wins, but to your losses. Some feel real relief when you struggle, because your struggle means they don't have to keep comparing themselves to you. They might offer sympathy on the surface, while something underneath finally exhales. True friends lean in, and when you're down, everyone else intends to lean back. None of this means the world is full of enemies. It isn't. Most people are simply human, carrying their own comparisons and disappointments, occasionally letting that leak into how they treat you. The goal was never to become suspicious of everyone. It's to become someone who watches actions closely and stops needing every person's approval to feel steady. The moment you stop performing for people who already decided how they feel about you, their opinion quietly loses its grip. Your growth will always sort people. Some will walk with you. Some will fall back. Some were never really beside you at all. They were just standing close enough to watch. Let that be information, not heartbreak. Awareness doesn't make you cold. It makes you clear, and clarity is what lets you keep moving without spending your energy or convincing people to see you the way you already see yourself. If this made you think of someone, or maybe made you think of yourself a little differently, leave a comment and let me know which part hit hardest. And if you'd like more of this kind of reflection, consider subscribing. There's more to think through together.